Epic tales of Magic Mike's Last Dance have got women talking, but nothing lasts forever. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Adam Ball, and this is Offscreen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom.
Groovy.
So, welcome back to the show. We're going to start with some brand new movies shortly, but we thought we'd just have a bit of a catch-up before we start talking about these new movies. So, have you watched any that aren't brand new movies this week, Van? Anything that has taken you back a little bit?
Movies are fun. Do you know what I watched the other night that I hadn't seen in a long time was the really terrible 1995 adaptation of Michael Crichton's Congo, which they made as a sort of a Jurassic Park cash-in.
Oh, I've never seen that. I've never even heard of it, actually.
Oh, mate, you got to see it. If you've not seen it, you got to check it out. It's absolutely mental. It's got a gorilla who can uses advanced sign language, and there's a machine that translates it into actual voice named Amy. There's killer monkeys. There's Ernie Hudson. There's Delroy Lindo, and there's Tim Curry with this South African accent. It's absolutely nuts. It's got cannibals, volcanoes, the works.
I'm sold. That sounds good to me. Do you know what's on TV tonight? The original late 90s, early 2000s Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I spoke about it earlier on my show. And I've seen that, and I've seen the kind of the newer version. Before I give my opinion, which do you think is best?
The original, the 1990 adaptation.
Good!
Of course, that's the definitive. Everyone knows. It's got 3 boobs. Of course it's awesome.
Yes, I remember that in the bar. Yes, brilliant. I mean, so many people I work with were telling me that they thought that the newer version was better because it was more modern, and obviously the gadgets were, a little bit
not as the lot of them.
Yeah, no, I had exactly the same argument. The original totally, and I've got it on record because it's going to be on TV tonight. So I want to go back and watch it again. But okay, well let's dig into this first new movie that is out, which uses the voices of Rob Beckett, Giovanna Fletcher, and Josh Widdicombe. Of course, this is the animated movie Epic Tales.
Yeah, so Epic Tales, which is a French animated historical adventure. It's basically what you get. It's the tale of Jason and the Argonauts, the retirement years, effectively, from the perspective, like Ratatouille-like perspective, of an animated mouse named Patty, who is like a schoolgirl age kind of character who just wants to grow up and be an adventurer like her hero Jason from Jason and the Argonauts. And one day, the gods above go to war. The gods are all the ones who are voiced by Josh Widdicombe and Rob Beckett and Giovanna Fletcher, by the way. And Zeus and I think it's Poseidon get into a bit of a tiff because the people of Jason's town, I forget the name of the town historically now, it's bad of me, they decide to build a massive statue to Zeus. Poseidon gets a bit jealous, holds the town to ransom, and Patty must lead, Ratatouille style, Jason and the rest of the Argonauts off on an adventure for the MacGuffin that'll save the day. Have a listen. This is the general sort of vibe of this whole thing.
I've always wanted to be a heroine.
Patty! A hero is a human, Patty, not a little mouse like you.
We must show Zeus our gratitude. It's awesome. Certainly deserve. I'll give you 7 days to make a statue of me that's as beautiful as my brother's.
Come on, they're all counting on us.
We're going on an adventure!
I mean, I've seen the trailer to this. It's that typical beautiful animation and jokes that will go over the kids' heads, but the adults will understand and have their own little giggle in the back of the cinema. I really like these kind of movies.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this is not an offensively bad one by any stretch of the imagination. It's not quite obviously going to be up to the very polished level of something like a Pixar. You expect a certain AAA grade pristine product with that. To an extent, a DreamWorks as well. Like if they do it to the level they did the recent Puss in Boots sequel, which I still think is the second best Shrek movie. This is, I would say, lower tier Illumination, like lower tier of the kind of caliber that gave us, the Despicable Me adjunct movies. Not Despicable Me, the first one, because that is a masterpiece and I'll defend it to my dying day. But, like the sequels and the Minion movies and things like that, you don't particularly feel work quite as well. This is about up to that caliber. It's made by a French animation studio called PAP, incidentally. So at the beginning of the movie, when you start watching this, it says a PAP film. And as a Brit, that's kind of funny. But it's just one of those things that just immediately struck you as amusing. The film itself just it's a bit too messy to work. Like, it's just a little bit too naff. Like, for the adults, it's worth mentioning. Like, we took my friend's son to see this. Little Freddie came along to watch it with us, and he had the time of his life. And on the way out the cinema afterwards, I had to wait with him for the bathroom. And he came out. After he came out, he was telling me all about the Greek myths that he happened to have read about, and this movie apparently just tied into. So it works. It does play really well to kids. He was zippy and happy and loved it. I sat there through this going, at best, this is 3 stars. This is not particularly sparky. At best, it's 3 stars. But I'm not going to deny, every now and again, just when you feel like it's getting repetitive, it comes out with an absolute zinger. There's some gags in this that will absolutely knock you out the chair. They're really sharp, and they come out of nowhere. And this film has no earthly business having comedy of this caliber in there. But there's some great gags.
Okay, so catered more to the kids, but at the same time, you do get something out of it as an adult. Interestingly enough, listening to that clip you just played there, I can probably hand on heart tell you I didn't recognise Rob Beckett's voice, Giovanna Fletcher's voice, or Josh Widdicombe's voice.
Yeah, to be fair, I think it's a relatively just voice talent cast. No celebrities playing any of the central figures. I think this is because it's the English language dub as well. They basically just gave the celebrity parts to the minorly written god roles. So they're not really in a lot of the movie. They just get like 3 scenes, say. And Rob Beckett's putting on a voice. Giovanna Fletcher I wouldn't recognise anyway, if I'm being really honest. I still don't know who she is. Who's Giovanna Fletcher?
She is the wife of... Yeah, that's right. She's the wife of Tom Fletcher, who is the main songwriter for McFly.
Who I have met, and he was lovely. I had no idea who he was, but I have met him, and he was very cool. Having said that, though, I did recognise Josh Widdicombe's voice because he's really just doing Josh Widdicombe, and Josh Widdicombe as Zeus is hilarious. I could listen to that all day. It was great. You'll have some fun with this. You're watching this with your son. I think you're going to have a good enough time. There's a couple of stretches here and there where you might be like, oh, it's a bit boilerplate. I could zone out. I could have a nap about now. You can merrily nap through certain chunks of this and be able to keep up with it. Not a problem. But kids love this, from what I've observed, to be really honest. Freddie loved it. All the rest of the kids had the time of their lives. They seem to really like it.
How long is it? I mean, is it short enough to keep the kids occupied without them getting a little bit bored halfway through towards the end?
Yes, it's a 95-minute, which basically means it's about 85 plus credits. And to be fair, even over the credits, there's some like animated kind of drawing type stuff going on over there. I'd say there's some fun to be had. There's a couple of scorpions that absolutely stole this movie for me, literal scorpions. And I'm a big fan of any movie that uses the phrase we have to stop the gargoyles robot. Which the Cyclops. We have to stop the Cyclops' robots. I was like, I'm in. Once I've heard that line, that you've sold me on a movie. This is like the Fantastic Four with only the Surfer can stop the Destroyer, but he needs his board. I appreciate that level of scripting craftsmanship.
There's no musical numbers in this, I'm guessing.
There's a couple of sort of jaunty numbers, but they're not like outright musical numbers. I don't believe, no.
Okay. Well, I mean, to me, I would sit down and watch this with my little boy if what you're saying, is correct. Catered for the younger kids. Would a 4-year-old understand it though?
No, I don't know if they'll necessarily follow the nuances of the historical epic being laid out before them, but I think there's enough of a romping adventure going through this. I quite liked it. Those are those great sort of Mr. Peabody-like anachronistic jokes about, isn't it funny how we didn't have trousers at this period in history? Things like that. There's loads of like modern gags, but they're done in a sort of very kid-friendly way. There's no pointed edge whatsoever to this material. This is all sanded off and rounded as much as possible. They've literally child-proofed the edges of this movie. But I think there's enough there for younger kids to sink their teeth into as well. Like, it's talking animals, having an adventure. It's good fun.
Okay, well, if you fancy watching this, make your own mind up. It is out in cinemas from today. It's called Epic Tales. So we've got so much more to come. We're going to be talking about Magic Mike's Last Dance in a few segments' time. We've got women talking. But next, we're going to be looking at Nothing Lasts Forever, which Van has already seen, of course. All I know is it's about diamonds and it's quite thought-provoking. So we'll find out in just a bit. Stay there. So we are back and sticking with some more brand new movies in just a bit. We're going to talk about Nothing Lasts Forever, which, as I mentioned a moment ago, all I know is it's about diamonds and it's quite a thought-provoking movie. But first, you've got a trailer you want to talk about that you've recently seen.
Yeah, I saw the trailer. In fact, it was today. I saw the trailer for Strays, new comedy at Universal, apparently from the producers of Ted. So I think they want to market it to that kind of crowd. Obviously, it will have next to nothing to do with anything to do with Ted. It will just be there's one top exec at Universal who signed off on both because clearly he's got a comedic eye. No, it's not that. It's just here's a comedy we want you to compare it to. There you go. It's a live action movie, which presented as live action. What they've done is they've done like a Homeward Bound type movie about like dogs going on an adventure, talking, using CGI for the mouths and everything. But they are the voices of Will Ferrell, Jamie Foxx, and people like that. And
wow.
The whole gag is that it's R-rated, like it's really foul-mouthed and nasty, and like the dogs get drunk and things like that. I can't wait for this. It's called Strays. I don't even know what the UK release date is. I just can't wait. I'm excited about this.
I'm really glad you said about the swearing, because as soon as you said it was made by the same people who made Ted, my first question was going to be, please say that these animals have potty mouths just like Ted does. So that will be quite funny to watch. I like the sound of that. Something I just wanted to quickly ask you, Happy Valley. Have you watched any of the series Happy Valley that everyone's talking about at the moment?
No, you know me and British television are not the best of friends. Me and British films aren't really the best of friends, to be really honest. But I know that it was a hugely anticipated thing, and I couldn't read about anything else on Twitter for about 2 days afterwards. So I'm aware that it was the TV event of the season, and I'm happy for it. My sister, I believe, was quite a big fan of it. So I'm happy to see it continue. It's like 7 series or 4 series. Well, I don't know.
It's the third series just finished and aired last Sunday. So I haven't seen that yet, but I got sucked into everyone talking about it, and I started series 1 a week and a half ago, and I watched the whole of series 1 in 2 days. If you love a good crime drama, it's absolutely brilliant and worth watching. Commissioned by the BBC. And just really, really good. It's really well made. So, there's a recommendation from me this week. So let's crack on with Nothing Lasts Forever then. Diamonds and thought-provoking. So talk me through this.
Right, I'm going to point out, first of all, that prior to actually starting up the screener link on this film, I had no earthly idea what it was about. And I didn't want to look up the trailer because I don't like it. If I don't know what the movie is, I won't generally look up the trailer specifically just before I watch the film, because you're watching it too soon. It's not like you can forget anything you've just seen, and also you piece together the order. Right, so I just had the IMDb synopsis to go off on this. Would you like me to read you that synopsis, and let's see if you can pick apart the bones of a plot from what IMDb have put, which is: illusions and reality merge, where authenticity and imagination overlap, and questions arise about the value we place on the goods around us. What the hell is that?
Yeah, that doesn't really mean a lot, does it? I mean, that could almost be the synopsis to Limitless.
Yeah, it really could. Now, of course, as you have pointed out, this is about diamonds. Specifically, it is about synthetic diamonds. So what this documentary does, it's a nice, tight and tidy 87-minute made-for-Showtime documentary. So I don't think this was originally conceived of as an actual cinematic or theatrical, so to speak, project. I think this isn't intended for TV screens. This being released by Dogwoof means that you can probably catch it on the Dogwoof player as well from today when it's released. It's a 87-minute documentary that explores the diamond market as, we all sort of know it, as we sort of pop culturally and societally recognize it. And it explores how that came to be entirely as effectively a marketing exercise by one company that happened to have effectively a worthless product. A diamond in and of itself has no inherent value. They then created the value by creating the marketplace, by more or less inventing the popularized version of the engagement ring. Much to the chagrin of most grooms the world over, if we're being honest. But this is then how that market becomes destabilized by the introduction of synthetic diamonds several decades ago now. How they tried to basically declassify this as, this is a cheap imitation, but how now in the present day, decades later, those same companies, specifically De Beers, have gone into synthetic diamonds all of their own, and now they have somehow managed to shift the goalpost of classification to the idea that synthetic diamonds are now okay. just as long as they're made by the right company. So have a listen.
People want diamonds because they've been told to, and none of them are really worth anything. And surprise, your big diamond might be fake too.
We're in the period of misinformation, confusion.
Synthetic diamonds have leaked into the natural diamond market.
They may be indistinguishable.
They're saying 1% maybe. It's so there's no panic.
It is happening. But who are going to catch?
There is a boogeyman under the bed, and things are not right.
So, apart from the companies that are making these synthetic diamonds, what's the advantage to having one of these diamonds then in the movie?
Well, this is the thing. The movie tries to give the diamond industry, the old guard, as it were, the chance to make their argument. And really, their argument never comes down to anything more than, oh, it's because it's the real thing, isn't it? And, oh, it's a rite of passage. And, oh, the arguments never quite come together. And you know me, I'm a science person anyway, so of course I'm on the side of the artificial. Because, it's fascinating watching this towering legacy industry try and bear down on this. First of all, this generation of effectively startup companies and labs who go into these synthetic crafts. First of all, they tried it through detection. These companies started in business doing synthetic diamond detection. And because this was something De Beers didn't offer, then De Beers muscled in on that marketplace and took over that. So they've now moved into, having gone through these decades of synthetic diamond detection, synthesizing their own diamonds because it's their expertise, it's their marketplace for the taking. Who knows better? It's like hiring the hacker to run cybersecurity. It's a fascinating documentary, to be really honest.
To me personally, there's a flaw in the narrative to this, and that is real diamonds are expensive and wanted because they're rare. So if they're being made on demand, to me that means they're just going to be pennies.
But they're being made to the exact same chemical definition and process, and this is the idea that it's basically because it's turned diamonds into something of an equalised luxury. The idea is that the old guard and the upper crust and the top tier of society simply can't have that. And it's fascinating done. You get quite a few very blunt. One lady in particular is extremely blunt, telling you, basically laying bare this industry that, even in its most authentic form, does not come without its controversies, as certain African nations can probably attest, if we're being honest. So, yeah, like I say, I was fascinated by it. Like I say, it's not intended as a sort of theatrical venture. Like it is more of a high-gloss TV documentary. But being made for Showtime, that gloss is lacquered on thick. It's slick, it's sexy, it's cool. It's the most interesting time I've ever had learning about diamonds without Leonardo DiCaprio.
Well, yes. I was about to say, is it quite thought-provoking then? Does it open up quite a few kind of thoughts and moral questions?
Well, as I say, you've got the history of diamond mining and how those workers are treated, as well as as you've just put out, the philosophical argument of what is the inherent value of a diamond. The answer is whatever society puts upon it, and that's what it is. It's in the same way that art has no inherent monetary worth. It is only what we deem it to be. In fact, let's be really honest, that's how money exists. That's literally it. Cryptocurrency has value based on the the value that society assigns it, which is the ludicrous volume that it is. Same with all currency, the earth over. It's exactly that inherent system of worth. But the movie does, allow you to explore and interpret that to your own measure. It settles down more firmly on the side of the science, though, if we're being honest.
This definitely sounds like a drunk debate at 3 o'clock in the morning to me, if ever I've heard one. I could go on for hours and hours and hours talking about, money, what it's worth, why it's worth that, diamonds being made to the same specification, therefore they're worth more or the same. Clever stuff. I do like the sound of this. And like you say, it's quite deep, so something you can really get absorbed by, I suppose. Did the time go quickly for you?
Oh, it did. It was an hour 27 in length total, 5 minutes for credits. So you are talking about like an 80-minute chronicle. I thought it was really good. I was really interested. Didn't know what it was about before I started, as I say, because the title sounds like a sort of trashy James Bond knockoff, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Nothing lasts for Rex Hunter in Nothing Lasts Forever. That kind of schlock. So starting it up, I was, it's about diamonds, okay. And then, of course, it got into the synthetic side. I'm like, okay, I'm interested. Keep going. And I learned quite a bit from it actually, because I'm a bit obsessed anyway. This fascinating.
Yeah.
I got to be honest.
Well, I like the sound of that. Nothing Lasts Forever, and that is also out in cinemas today. We are going to be back in a moment when we talk about Women Talking, which is based on a novel of the same name, I believe, Van. Is that right?
Indeed, and if it's not been adapted into a stage show yet, trust me, it probably will be.
All right, well, we'll be talking all about that. See what Van thinks in a moment. Stay there. Hey, welcome back, and sticking with new movies still, because there are still quite a few to talk about. Magic Mike's Last Dance in just a bit, but right now we're going to look at Women Talking, which I mentioned just a moment ago, based on a novel of the same name. Talk to me about this, Van.
Yes, I think it's one by Miriam Toews and is loosely based on true events that I think took place in Manitoba County, I think it was.
Right.
So I'm trying to remember. It centers around a remote Mennonite, like a commune. What do they call them? Mennonite colony, effectively. But this is in the present day. So like a religious community, like a secular religious community that's like the Amish, isolated unto themselves kind of thing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So this is a Mennonite sect of one of those, and it largely takes place within the confines of a hayloft or a hay barn, in which the women of the community have been left to their own devices. There are only two men left, sort of like in the small village. One of whom is played by Ben Whishaw, and he's there taking notes of what is effectively a meeting. This is like a town council meeting of all the women of the town, and these include Rooney Mara, Claire Foy, Frances McDormand, etc. And they are having a philosophical debate, and not even a philosophical debate, a societal debate. The debate is over what to do about their lives within the village, in the wake of a series of attacks in which several of the women have been drugged with cow and horse tranquilizers and sexually assaulted. Bear in mind, as I say, these are women who live more or less comparatively to the Amish, for instance, as well. And so these are not women taking self-defense classes either. So it's even more of an insular, old-timey tale than that, even though it is set in the present day. So the men have evidently caught the accused or the would-be assailants and are off dealing with them and taking care of the legal side of it in a nearby town. While they're gone, the ladies have to decide what it is they want to do with their lives. Do they want to stay? And if they are going to stay, what rules are they going to put in place? How are they going to change things to protect themselves from this ever happening again? Or do they go and seek a new life elsewhere, with or without their children? Have a listen. This is the general vibe.
I saw him.
But only one.
Yes, only one, but he named the others.
But what if he was lying? We must consider this.
No, that is not our responsibility because we aren't in charge of whether or not they are punished. We know that we've been attacked by men, not by ghosts or Satan, as we were led to believe for so long. We know that we've not imagined these attacks, that we were made unconscious with cow tranquilizer. We know that we are bruised and infected and pregnant and terrified and insane, and some of us are dead.
There is a movie, actually, that this loosely reminds me of. Do you remember The Village?
Yes, I thought of that as well. It's because of the juxtaposition of the period setting and the present day. Not to give away any spoilers on a 19-year-old Shyamalan thriller there.
That's the end! No, don't do it!
Bruce Willis is dead. If you didn't know already, you should. There we are. That's it. I did your service, people. If you were wondering, by chance, where Rooney Mara, Claire Foy, Jessie Buckley and Frances McDormand had all been hiding this award season, the answer is they've all been hiding in the exact same place. It's this movie, and of course this is up for several Oscars, for director Sarah Polley as well, who I still remember more primarily as an actress. But this is a fascinating film. It's not conventionally entertaining, but it is like a stage show that's kind of that sits halfway between A Few Good Men and Witness, if you can imagine such a thing.
Oh, okay. So, how long was this one? Did you say? I mean, was it captivating throughout the whole thing? Like, you engrossed in it?
Yeah, I say it's not a long one. It's only about 100 minutes long. I think it's 104, which probably gives you about 95 minutes plus credits, sort of a thing. But it is one of those movies that even when it's not being like, it's never not engaging. Actually, I can't really ever say that. It's never unengaging. Even during its slower points, when it does just wander off and do some character stuff for 15 minutes, it still does keep you vaguely engaged. I mean, no performer present here is a slouch. Nobody is ever going to accuse Claire Foy of not bringing her A game every single time. Whether or not you enjoy that very repetitive game is subject to, personal preference. I can take or leave it, dependent on how many we've had that month. But they're all bringing their A game. It's a solid performers row here.
Is it kind of attacking our reset of a moral compass with the storyline in here?
But the interesting thing about it is it's a movie that obviously plays a lot differently post 2017, post Time's Up, that kind of thing. It is the kind of movie that I think probably would not necessarily have gotten made prior to. But it has resonance now, particularly in the way that it thematically very much explores, well, as one of several topics that it explores, if we're being honest, very much explores the completely apathetic role of men within the situation. And how, as you can hear in the clip, it's not Satan, as we've been told, like they fobbed us off kind of an idea. They just dismissed it. They wouldn't take it seriously. And you can imagine that has certain contemporary pathos, which I say plays really well. It's in very skillful hands. Sarah Polley directs the hell out of it. I think she's adapted the screenplay as well. And I'm trying to remember who did the cinematography. Luc Montpellier, whose work I did not know. Is a Canadian cinematographer whose work I didn't necessarily know offhand. But I was gripped by this. Believe me, if this thing were a stage show, and it will be, it absolutely will be, because there's no way this gets put up for Oscars like it has, and it then doesn't find its way to the West End, because it sure as hell will. This will go down gangbusters on the stage. I can imagine this becoming a really acclaimed work for the boards in years to come. As a movie in its own right, it does sit as the talky one for this year. I don't think it's particularly going to take home any gold this year, despite the fact that I really did love that cinematography. I thought Luc Montpellier's cinematography is just tremendous. I was absolutely breathtaken by it.
Are there any twists in this, like The Village, or is it quite predictable? Or because I don't like movies where it's really easy to predict what's going to happen next.
Well, first of all, it would be a massive spoiler, and I'm not going to do that if I tell you that there's a twist. I might occasionally hint. If something's got like 6 twists in it, I'll be like, oh, there's a twist. Because fair enough, you're just never going to see numbers 2 through 6 coming in that case. But, you don't want to say there's a twist. But as it happens, I'll go with you. This is a talky drama, as I say. It's an Oscar movie, man. Come on, there's going to be shocks in an Oscar movie. That just doesn't happen. This side of the Silence of the Lambs and maybe The Shape of Water. But, no, it's a straightforward, like I say, it's a theatre piece. So, it is about performances and character interaction and dialogue, but it's not so much about the twists and turns. It is about the theological and sociological argument going on, and the
beautiful acting by the sounds.
Well, also beautiful music as well by Hilda. I can never remember how you say it. Guadnatir, I think, who obviously was the composer behind Joker a couple of years ago. Icelandic composer. Just an amazing score for this as well. You're watching this thinking it's like watching a stage show, but you've got all this really great filmmaking going on around it. It's really odd sometimes when that happens,
No, that's interested me enough to want to watch it, actually. So if you feeling the same, it is out, Women Talking, and it's out today in cinemas. All right, well, I know what you thought of the next movie we're going to talk about, because I saw your social media. We are going to be looking at Magic Mike's Last Dance. Yes, Channing Tatum is back, and we'll see what Van thought of that movie in just a minute, so stay right there. So we are back for one last time, and we're going to stick with brand new movies. There's one big one that I already know what Van thought of this because of his social media, or at least I think I know what Van thought of it. And actually, I've got to say, it was really nice to see a male tweet or Facebook about a movie that you would expect is aimed more at females. Magic Mike, Channing Tatum is back.
Right. I mean, first of all, I mean, there's a gender stereotyping going on there that does feed brilliantly into how a fellow male critic friend of mine handled this movie, which is to say, about as shriveled and homophobic as you could possibly imagine. I'm down for this series. The Magic Mike cinematic universe is my jam, man. I love this series. First of all, I'm a big fan of writer director Steven Soderbergh. Directing in this case, I think writing goes to Reed Carolyn, who is a frequent collaborator and I think production company partner with star Channing Tatum, upon whom this series is upon whose life this series is loosely based. So Channing Tatum started out in the Magic Mike style of dancing and that kind of choreography, and brought some of his experiences to the screen in Magic Mike, which marketing back in, I think it was 2012, like that, 2013 maybe, then spun into this weirdly broader, more animated and colourful, sort of trashy exploitation film for women. And kind of coincided with about the point that 50 Shades of Grey was transferring from being a best-selling novel to being a film. It kind of fell in the middle of that. You know what I mean? So they were kind of capitalizing on the female gaze and the libido of that specific moment to an extent. It's always noticeable by the sequences that they would use for the marketing for that reason, because they were always the more dominant moments of those movies, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
So, a couple of years later, we had Magic Mike XX. Oh, sorry, I should explain. When that movie came out as well, it then turned out to be a lot more of a thoughtful indie drama. In other words, a Steven Soderbergh movie than anybody had been led to believe by the marketing. So a lot of people went home unhappy. Yay, we got to see his ass wiggle, but why were we being bored for the rest of the time? I personally thought it was good fun. Right, you then got XXL a couple of years later, which decided to go in the opposite direction, which is now we're going to dial down the indie drama as far as we can go before losing any levity, and we're just going to go for the bright and the vivid and the colourful. We're going to do a road trip movie, and it was good fun. It was, but again, still too talky and not quite as flashy and exploitative enough for what the marketing would have you believe. Flash forward to 2023 and Magic Mike's Last Dance is here, and they had managed to keep the marketing for this relatively on the down low. They managed to restrain themselves a little bit. So just to explain, this time around, it is post-pandemic Miami. And Mike's business that he set up at the end of the last movie, which I think was a hardware store. I think it was a hardware store. I think I've not seen XXL since it came out. Great screening that night, by the way. Anyway, his hardware store, his business has gone down the pan thanks to the pandemic, and he's back working as a bartender, like catering parties. And we first meet him at the start of this movie when he is working the bar at a rich divorcee's party. Said rich divorcee being played by...
Convenient.
Played by Salma Hayek, no less.
Wow.
A rich divorcee played by Salma Hayek Pinot, I think her name is now. Yeah. Who... and she right, try and believe this bit, Adam. This is going to take some suspension of disbelief. Salma Hayek is a sexually unfulfilled and deeply, unhappy, but rich woman who is then told by one of her mates at the party, actually, did you know your bartender used to be a stripper? I saw him at a party way back when. Just slip him a few bucks to see what he'll do. So Mike manages to charm this through the form of what's effectively an on-the-spot proposition as soon as she's got him alone and all the guests have gone out. And she says, do a dance for me, here's some money, which he goes with, and he gives her the literal moment of her life. After which, she decides, I want to share this with everybody in the world. It so happens that as part of my separation, I have a theatre in London. That's right, we're going to London this time, and we're going to create Magic Mike Live. Have a gander.
Come with me to London. Let's go.
So let's dance. Let's dance.
Why are you in London?
I'm gonna put on a show at this famous theater.
People are numb, disconnected. We're gonna wake them up with a wave of passion they've never felt before.
Hell yeah.
Without further ado, I give you the visionary artist, Magic Mike.
So...
Oh, I love the fact that they've brought it to London. Do you get to see much of the sights and sounds around London in this, or is it mainly just focused in the theatre?
No, they're doing the full Austin Powers. No, don't worry, they're doing the full Austin Powers jaunts around, Carnaby Street shtick with this. Because, don't forget, Mike is Mike, so there's a certain ruggedness and scruffiness to him that, of course, the minute he steps down in London has to be greeted with, well, let's take him to Liberties, shall we, on the way home, and walk him down Carnaby Street and have our, our personal tailors tend to him. Very much that. So you do get to take in the side. I literally go over Tower Hill in an open-top bus, I think, at one point. It's about as cliche as you can get. So yes, you are absolutely getting the sights from this one, Mr. Ball, well and truly. I mean, definitely.
What's the soundtrack like to this?
Well, I say it's a Magic Mike movie, so it has to come with a certain beat, and they do not disappoint on that beat. There are, of course, the requisite 2 or 3 references to Genuine by Pony, which, of course, then being that this is Magic Mike Live, that is getting created during this, has to contain one of the most pivotal moments of Magic Mike's life, which is Genuine's Pony. I say Genuine by Pony, Pony by Genuine, and they have to recreate that that sort of magical number as a stage show. It's worth noting as well, and I noticed this on the way out of the screening because we have to walk past Magic Mike Live. We were literally in the building next door to Magic Mike Live at the View watching Magic Mike.
Wow.
And then had to walk past. And it's interesting to note that the cast members from Magic Mike Live, a lot of them seem to be the actors who are actually playing themselves in Magic Mike's Last Dance. So, if you were a fan of the stage show, and I have many friends who are big fans of the stage show. Zara and I looked into let's get tickets and go. Let's make a night of it and actually see if we can line it all up. And we just couldn't get it done in time. And if you were a fan of that stage show, though, I'd imagine you'll want to see this. I think it adds an extra layer onto that. It's such a good ride when they get to, because it's not trying to reinvent the wheel. This isn't Top Gun Maverick where there is this at the end of the world at stake kind of a thing. This is a small scale, mid-tier kind of Soderberghian drama with a bit of comedy. Channing Tatum's on fine form. I really like Salma Hayek in this role because she's literally playing Salma Hayek. I mean, albeit an undersexed Salma Hayek, which I don't think is possible to be as a Salma Hayek. She's Salma Hayek. No. She's the goddess of all libidos of all genders. She is Salma Hayek. All hail Salma Hayek. But the performances are good fun. You do get a little bit of a cast reunion as well. Not maybe not quite in the form that you think, but there's some overlap in there, and there's some of the hits being put out there. I will say as well, that first dance sequence, which is between Mike and Salma Hayek Pino's character, which is the one that she hires him on the basis of, that dance number. Yeah, I mean, I was hot under the collar after that. I'm not gonna lie. I would have thought they couldn't top the Backstreet Boys dance number from XXL. Which is just what I mean. On so many levels, that is just a genius dance number. Having Joe Manganiello do it just on its own just seems like a wonderstroke. For this one, though, Channing Tatum and Salma Hayek at the very beginning of this movie, there is a reason that is the big moment in the marketing. It's hot. Not gonna lie, it's hot.
I was going to say, is that the Dirty Dancing moment that everyone's going to be talking about? At the end of Dirty Dancing, but actually, by the sounds of it, halfway through this movie.
Yeah, put it this way: the second the moment, the sequence was over, there was this noticeable moment where you could just hear everyone cranking their drinks cans at the same moment.
Brilliant! I absolutely love that. Yeah. I just love the review on this. I love to hear you talking about this so passionately. And I think everyone.
I'm a fan of them.
I think everyone should see Magic Mike.
I think they get better every single time. The longer this series goes, the better it seems to get. It's like the Mission Impossible series in that way. The longer the Mission Impossible series goes on, the more awesome it seems to become. It's like an inverse Fast and Furious, although, that's the worst I'll ever say of the Fast and Furious, let's be honest. Anyway, that's Magic Mike's Last Dance. I kind of hope it isn't his last dance, and you can see that in cinemas from today. I expect it will sell out over the weekend.
Okay, well, that's all we got time for this week. We will, of course, be back on Friday, February the 17th, when we are going to be looking at The Son, spelled S-O-N.
Yeah, the weird one about this, The Son is literally a sequel. Well, not really an actual sequel, but it's like a follow-up to The Father. We're also getting another one called, I kid you not, The Daughter. So,
oh, no.
Yeah, this one stars Hugh Jackman and is about teenage mental health. I saw this one before Christmas and didn't pop up very much on the awards nominations lists this year, all I'm going to say. We've also got the documentary Make Me Famous out next week, along with The Inspection, which looks like a tight military drama. You know how I love those. The pro-nuclear documentary, pro-Irish nuclear documentary, Atomic Hope, which, you know me, science nerd, and I'd be interested to see what the pro argument is on nuclear science if for documentary form. Specifically, seeing as we're tapping into another energy source next week, Pym particles, as we return to the quantum realm with Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yes!
Quantumania next week as well, which I'm really looking forward to seeing. Bill Murray is going to be in a Marvel movie, finally. Can you believe it?
Amazing. That is one I am really looking forward to seeing, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I really want to see that because I've seen the others. So, yeah, brilliant. All right, well, we'll talk about those next week. All of those still to come. And until then, I've been Adam Ball.
I've been Van Connor, and we shall return.